Universe. In today's video, I am doing my writing journey number 60. Today's video, I am answering the top 5 questions that I got this month of May from you guys. All of these questions are to do with the Ashes of Legends series, which is a series that I have been trying to get published traditionally through a traditional publishing house, first by getting an agent, then by getting a publisher, which involves finding agents and involves submitting and writing queries and all those things. So a lot of the questions are about that process and just the book itself. So I'll begin with the first asked question, which is about the story itself, which is there romance in my book? Yes. And this question actually feeds into my next question, which is, are there any diverse / own voices elements in this book? And yes, there are a lot. So Ashes of Legends is an urban / epic fantasy because, as you guys know, I love going into other worlds and stuff like that. So in the other world, it is definitely epic fantasy, but of course in our world, it is urban fantasy. And in our world portion of the book, there is a gypsy and she is Indian African. And then there are other characters that are African, there are other characters that are Indian, there are other characters that are British. So it's just a very varied mix of characters. And then there is, of course, the gypsy dialect, how they speak, their culture, stuff they believe, that kind of stuff is brought out in the book. And then also, going back to the romance in the book, it is not just heterosexual romance that transpires throughout this series. Question number 3 is how many words is Ashes of Legends before I started submitting. When I finally decided that I was done with Ashes of Legends, that it was complete and that I was not going to go back to it, which of course was a lie, but when I was like, no, I'm done and I'm gonna start the submission process, it was 101,744 words. They say the best length for a first book in a series, especially if you're just starting out in the publishing world and like the traditional publishing scene, is, I believe, 90,000 words. However, there is some wiggle room if you were doing a fantasy, because of course you need those extra words to create not only the story but the world, because you know you need this beautiful vivid world. So I believe that the prime count for a fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, is 95,000 words to 105,000 words. So I tried to stay within that niche bracket, which actually was a pretty good length for what I needed to say. Question 4 is how many drafts did I do before submitting? I have each draft in a different folder. So I have an Ashes of Legends folder, and I have Ashes of Legends, which is book 1, and then I have a folder for book 2. But then in the Ashes of Legends folder itself, I have all the agents that I'm planning to query, the query letters that I'm planning to write, the synopsis, all of that stuff just for Ashes of Legends book 1. And also in that folder, I have draft folders. So I have 4 official draft folders. I had 3 official draft folders originally when I started submitting. I now have a 4th one because during the submission process, of course, it's still in my mind and I'm like, actually, that works better, this works better, blah, blah, blah. So yes, I've kind of already sent it out to some people who are not going to get the official book, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm making it better, so it's okay. If they like it, then I'll be like, great, but hey, I've actually made it better, so this is good. And if they say they like draft 3 and they don't like the changes I've made, then hey, I've still got my draft 3 folder. However, draft 1 was draft 1, I wrote it, done, dusted. Then I sent it out to beta readers who gave me feedback, and then I changed it based on their feedback. So that is technically draft 2, but I didn't consider it draft 2 until after I sent it to my editor, and then my editor got her hands on it, she did her magic and sent it back to me. When I got her feedback plus the beta readers' feedback, then I called it the official draft 2. So that technically was probably draft 3, but I called it draft 2 because then I felt like I got all feedback back. Then there was the draft that I did, which is draft 2, and I sent that draft back to my editor, and she got back to me with more, and then I did draft 3, but technically that was probably draft 5. And the 5th and final question that I'll answer today is picking an agent. How did I go about picking agents for the book? The agent process is and has been very long. I'm still not finished. So I did a lot of research on what the general number was to send to, and then I did research on what other authors did in their process of choosing agents, and then also just on what I'm writing and what agents like what I'm writing, blah 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 blah. So I started off with going through my beautiful books on my bookshelf, choosing the ones that I felt had a similar audience to the one that I want to get. So I checked those first and wrote down what agents those authors use. There is this amazing website called Query Tracker I believe, and it has a list of so many authors and their agents, and then you can just research that agent. So I didn't always go to the same agent, but I went to the agency and then I read through their agents and saw, okay, yes, that agent suits me, perfect, awesome, I'm contacting Sarah J. Maas's agent. Or I went to just the agency itself and was like, okay, actually this agent suits me better, but it just gave me somewhere to go, because obviously when you're starting out, you're like, there's so many places and so many ways to do this wrong. So after doing that process, I got about 12 agents that were like, yes, you know, they fit perfectly, yes, yes, yes. The average seems to be 25 to 30 agents. However, a lot of authors that I know have done 50, and then there were some stories that did 200, 100 and something, this, which is major down the line. So after I submitted to these 12 agents, I then began to look at broader agencies, but that still had, you know, some kind of connection to what I wrote, obviously. So that is the process that I am at the moment. My aim is to try and send it to 25 more, 27 technically more agents, because I want to get to the 50, because apparently 50 is the sweet spot. However, some do a lot less and some do a lot more. But yes, that is my answers to your 5 questions for this month. Maybe next month I will either answer more questions or I will give you a writing journey if there's like something big to announce. Although, by the way, the Last Elantra series is officially out now. Like book 3 and book 4 / the prequel have officially released, and I'm working on book 5 / book 4 in the series. It's getting confusing. But anyways, thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed the questions and the answers, and I hope that you got some insight from it and how to go about your own writing journey if you're getting involved in the submitting, querying process. And that is all for today. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye!